This video is brought to you by Devout Decals, makers of reusable Catholic art for your home altar, your bedroom, and your home classroom.
We have some news that broke yesterday that LifeSite News brought to our attention. It's causing the video that would normally be scheduled for today to be delayed for a couple of days, which is not a big deal. This takes precedence, I think. And that news is this, that Cardinal Zen, after returning to his homeland where he is in prison, has been hospitalized due to some flare-up of some pre-existing conditions. And we learned about this because despite him being in prison, he has access to a blog that he writes. And you may not be aware of this, but Cardinal Zen had taken advantage of his confinement to preach the gospel to his fellow prisoners. And I can't think of a more appropriate thing for a shepherd of the church to do in that situation. Now Cardinal Zen needs your prayers. And I'm going to actually read to you his letter that he wrote, mostly addressed to his fellow prisoners. I think this is good for all of us to hear in this time. I will ask that people only do really one thing, and that is to please keep Cardinal Zen in your prayers. I know it looks right now like, for whatever reason, all the better bishops are, well, going to meet our Lord at the time, but please let's not speculate on that with Cardinal Zen. The man is 91 years old and not in the best of health to begin with. And he first and foremost needs your prayers in mind. So please pray your rosary and keep him in your intentions for that today. Let's go to his letter, which he posted on his own blog at oldyosef.hkdavc.com. I will have a link to it in today's show notes at returntotradition.org. That's the name of this blog with name of this YouTube channel with a .org at the end. It's right there, my little name tag thing on the screen. Here is his letter translated to English from the help of Google Translate. Letter to a prisoner. Dear prisoners, I haven't seen you for many days. I am very concerned about you, and you may be very worried about me. Today I will report to you my current situation. The funeral of Pope Benedict is very important to me, and like a miracle, God allowed me to go to Rome to attend. The court approved the police to let me get back my passport. The airline just had a flight so that I could catch the funeral in time. Therefore, I felt that I couldn't give up this opportunity and decided to go. When I went to Rome, I felt that I represented the whole of my diocese and the whole of my home country, expressing our respect and love to Pope Benedict XVI. Those 4 days were a miracle, not only because I was able to attend this funeral mass, but because I was able to kiss Benedict's coffin and lay my head on it before the mass, underneath Peter's Basilica, where Benedict's coffin is placed to pay respects and pray. I'm really grateful to be able to go participate. Those happy 4 days were also very hard 4 days. Before I left, my shoulders were inflamed, my back was aching, and my hands were numb. So I was a patient in the seminary for more than 10 days after I came back, and it was impossible to come out to visit friends. But I always thought these problems would gradually improve and recover. As expected, the physical condition continued to deteriorate, and both hands became more swollen. On the night of the first day of the new year, I even started to have difficulty breathing, which reminded me of the bacteria that attacked my lungs in 2016. I had to stay in the hospital for 3 weeks, which made me nervous and decided to go to the hospital. Fortunately, after the examination, these were not the germs of 6 years ago. Thanks to the nuns and doctors in the hospital, they cared about me very much, conducted various examinations for me, and insisted on thoroughly checking the physical condition of this 90-year-old. Because I have been staying in the hospital, you have not heard much about me until today. But don't worry, I can say that the most senior doctor in the city is taking care of me, but I still don't know when I will be able to visit you. But don't forget that we will never be separated in prayer. I will always continue to pray for you, and please remember me in your prayers. At the beginning of this new year, I dare not wish everyone a happy, but I hope you are safe. God must give us the grace of peace in our hearts. Jesus was born as a man. God is glorified in heaven, and those whom the Lord loves enjoys peace on earth. I wish you all peace. And that is the short letter to his fellow prisoners by Cardinal Joseph Zen. who is one of the more remarkable figures in the church of our time. You don't have to agree with anything I say mostly, but I hope we can agree on this, that Cardinal Joseph Zen is a white martyr for the church, that he has suffered greatly for the church in his home country, and that we should keep him in our prayers in his time of need. We should all be able to agree on that much, I would hope. Wherever you stand on Francis and the direction the church has taken since Vatican II, the council itself, none of that really matters in this slight moment when Cardinal Joseph Zen needs our prayers. By all accounts, he is a kind, wonderful man who used his opportunity that was presented to him, the cross he was given in his confinement, to spread the gospel, to spread the love of our Lord, try to bring souls to our Lord. Hope you keep him in your prayers. It's interesting that this story hasn't gotten that much traction in the news since then. LifeSite News has covered this. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this, and I haven't seen it shared much on social media, which is unfortunate. And I have an idea as to why this story hasn't really gotten that much attention. Catholic media is largely focused on Francis's trip to the South Sudan and the Congo and other places. It's a pretty big deal when the man the world sees as Pope is receiving 1 million people coming to participate in his public masses. And that is giving a fair number of coverage, as it should. And the Cardinal Zen story is getting kind of buried in the sort of footnotes of that. And that's really is unfortunate, because Cardinal Zen is one of the highest profile figures of the church, and not because Cardinal Zen ever really sought to be that high profile. He just always fought for the people that the Lord gave to him to shepherd in the church. Now, the story of Francis going to the Congo and to South Sudan is a pretty big deal because of the statements Francis made about the James Martin sin and the lifestyle therein, how he essentially put his foot in his mouth just before then going to a country where, lo and behold, the sins that he says should not be illegal are actually illegal there. And the authorities there responded pretty harshly to his statements. Perhaps he needs some new advisors before he opens his mouth and says these things. I don't know, just my thought on that. But it's a pretty big deal because it was his first papal trip of that kind to Africa in 37 years. For someone who speaks as much about going to the peripheries as he does, he himself hasn't gone to that continent in now we're entering the 10th year of his reign over the church. Benedict didn't go, and the last one to go was John Paul II in the 1990s. This kind of trip warrants a lot of coverage from the Catholic media. That's to be expected. Let's just not let this story get buried, because the man who needs the prayers of the faithful, regardless of whatever they may think about anything else in the church, needs the prayers. And so let's put Cardinal Zen at the forefront of our thoughts today. So, and not just for the clicks, but please share this in your prayer groups, or at least the prayer request. You can go to my sources site and get the link to the blog. It is in his native language, so you'll need a translating algorithm for it. Share his story to try to get more prayers for him. Remember, it is a great act of charity to engage in the most basic prayers for other people. That is what we are called to do as Catholics. I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help, as does sharing this on social media. That helps enormously. As always, pray for the church. And again, pray for Cardinal Joseph Zen. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.